So today we're going to talk about buying land. There's lots of things that you really need to think about when you're buying land. It's not like buying a house. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is, how you get the lay of the land. The other thing, there's just lots of little things you need to consider when you're buying land. Much like when you buy a house, there's lots of things you've got to consider. But I think when buying a house, they're a bit more obvious because people buy houses so often. You've got to pick a good realtor, so we'll go over that too. You probably should look at houses just to make sure that you're not, buying property where the property is really overpriced, but the houses are really well priced. We'll talk about that. Homeowner associations and CCRs. Probably one of the most important things you've got to consider when you're buying land or a house. And then we'll also talk about hidden costs, unexpected expenses that you're likely to run into. Now, this is a huge topic, so this is going to be a series of videos, and I'm not sure if they're going to be 2, 3, 4. I'm going to kind of play it by ear, and we'll just go ahead and go through this, and once we get to a good stopping point, we'll go ahead and roll it over, the rest of it to the next video, and so on and so forth. So I think the biggest thing that you've got to do first is just understand the market wherever you're going to purchase it. And you might go, well, isn't that the job of the real estate agent? Well, yeah, and that's one of the resources you should be relying on, but it can't be the only one. You really should, this is your money, you're spending. You need to take ownership of the decision on which property you're going to buy and for how much. So I really want you to look at the realtor as another resource, not the resource. Let's move on to resources. I see that there's 3 primary resources that you can take advantage of when looking for property, whether it's land or a house. The first and I think most obvious one is physical, where you actually go and walk the property, drive through the neighborhoods. And you're there in person to look at the land. The second one would be human resources, so people friends, family, acquaintances. Don't be afraid to ask a stranger, for information. We stayed at a hotel one time, and I asked the manager, about land, or at least I hinted, hey, we're thinking about moving out here, looking at land, and they had a couple of friends who were selling a house, kind of off the books, under the covers. By the way, it's amazing, about a third of the property out in Teton Valley seems to sell that way. Somebody knowing somebody, making a recommendation to somebody and selling it that way. Real estate agent. And then there's the internet. Now, one of the things that I've seen in a lot of places, and I agree with them, either you've got to make a lot of trips out there to buy the land, and a good example of that would be, us, but also Pure Life for Living. That's how they found their property. And then the other way is to actually move there and rent, and be ready to rent for a year or two while you look and try and find the property that you want. And Red Poppy Ranch did it that way, and both were very successful. I think we've been very successful finding a piece of property that we just really love. And the third one would be the internet. Now, there's 2 sites that I used a lot, Zillow and Realtor.com. I think Zillow's site's a little bit more polished, at least it was when I was using it, but both sites update their software, their site often. And so it can change from week to week, month to month. I just ended up using Zillow most of the time. But it's also very important to use both, because not all properties are on both sites. Even though they may advertise how they go out and pick up property, actually the real estate listing agent has to pay for it to get on the site. And some of them pay extra for preferred listing as far as in searches, so that they're higher up in the list when you get it back. So let's go ahead and dive in. We'll start with Zillow. I already had looked for Teton County, Idaho, but you can put in any address you want to. Most of the time you'll probably put a city and state. I went ahead and put Teton County, Idaho in, so let's go ahead and go in and take a look at what we've got available to us. So here are all the properties that are available at the moment, and you've got these filters up here. Let me click on more. So it's got baths, square feet, size of the lot. Not all of these worked real well back in my day when I was doing this, which was 6 to 12 months. They seem to be working pretty good right now, so they must have fixed some bugs and things. So that's nice. Lot size would have come in handy for me. You can set the price range, and one of the things that I made a mistake on all the time is I'd go, oh yeah, I want to set the range. Well, it's on minimum by default. Make sure you click over here to max if you're going to just do a max. And these things will let you type in a number. So I can do 175,000, kind of hit tab for it to accept it. Home type, houses, apartments, condos. You really shouldn't look for both at the same time, because what you're looking for is apples and oranges. If you put a price range in and you say, well, I'm looking for a house with land and I'm willing to spend, say, $100,000 on the land, well, then you're probably going to end up having a $200,000 or $300,000 house. So that's $400,000, and I did my max in $175,000. It's not going to show up the right stuff. So I would either unclick land and look at the top ones, or unclick those. And primarily we're going to look and talk about land, so I'm going to unclick those. And then we could do another thing, lot size. And I really like how they have put acres in here. But basically what I was looking for was something that was like 3 to 6 acres. I ended up with a 20-acre lot, and we'll talk about that in another video, one of the follow-up series videos to this one. But let's go ahead and do 2 acres. We don't want something too small, and you can see how it went ahead and narrowed it down. So the other thing is that I really wanted a nice view of, and by the way, I was just rolling my mouse wheel when I did that, but you can use the plus or minus. So what I really want is a pretty nice view of the Tetons. Now, there is a hill over here. I'm not going to try and find it. It's too hard. Once we look at some pictures, you'll see the hill I'm talking about, which blocks the Tetons. So if you get too close to that hill, for instance, if you're in this area here, I think, where my hand is, looking this way, you hit the hill dead on, and so what you do is you catch like the top third of the mountains. But if you're over here, you actually look behind that hill and you get a nice view in the mountain range. It's a different view because you're not head on anymore. You're kind of like at a 25-degree angle, but it's still a pretty view. But if you get right in this area, so let's go ahead and use their drawing tool. So let's say we want to look, here. This is going to be kind of the avenue. And we'll apply that. So those are the properties that we probably want to take a close look at. So this on the right here are all these properties. If I zoom in, I'm going to zoom in on those 3 there. Let's move it so it's toward the middle. Oh, I got this other one down here, 4 of them. Okay. Notice there's only 4 properties over here now. So that's really nice. Let's see. Now what I can do is if I'm interested in a property, I can hit it here, or I can hit it here. Stillwater. Okay. You can also save these searches. So if you go ahead and sign up for an account and create the search, you can save it so you can easily bring up the search when you log back in each time. You can also save homes by going, okay, I really like this one. I bring it up and I do a save. Well, I'm not logged in, so it's telling me to log in before it can save it. But then you can go ahead and save it. You can easily share it with somebody else. I often would send links to properties to my wife because I did most of the research, but clearly I was getting her input on these properties. So now that you've got a property, there's a whole bunch of information here that's more detailed. What the lot size is. Notice that it's got this arrow here. If it starts fading on you like this, it's because there's more information, and you just need to open it up. Okay. Home values on land are rare. They usually don't have them. They only do them on homes. Price, tax history. Now this is interesting to have this because, and we'll go into more detail on this in another video, but it can list what the history is for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and it's nice to see how the price of the property has changed over time. And mortgage, and this is pretty much an advertisement page. I mean, yes, it works and everything, and it's kind of nice, but if you do get pre-qualified, it'll come up with a whole bunch of banks that have paid to be the banks that they send you to. Home expenses, again, another advertising place. The neighborhood, and nearby schools. Which for us, we didn't research that much because, well, our kids have graduated college already. I really didn't need it. But I'll tell you, unfortunately, the schools in Teton County are pretty average. Realizing that we are in Fairfax County, Virginia, and I think the county is in the top 10 in the country as far as school quality goes. I know high school-wise, there's 3 high schools in the county that are in the top 3 in the top 100 in the country. So we have a pretty good school system here in Fairfax. Okay, so let's move on, and let's go on over to Realtor.com. Now, Realtor likes to put these cards up. We saw the cards before where they were on the right-hand side, and then there was the map, and that's pretty much how Zillow works. So let's say you want to view by map. They have this little map button up here, and then if you want to go back to the pure list, you can do the list again. So let's go in and do the map. And let's go into the area that we were before. Kind of zoom in. So here you can see it's catching up. It's basically getting down to the houses that are now being shown here. The more I go in, the fewer houses show up. And again, these are usually by how recent there was a change on them, either a price up, price down, if somebody's paying extra to get the listing bumped up in the search. So one of the things I want to do is, here we're about the same area, kind of like take a mental picture here of this. Then if we go over here, and we kind of do the same mental picture, oops, actually we're more this way. So here we have this $160,000 listing property, and then if we go over here, it would be right here. So they paid for it to be on Zillow, but not Realtor. This $495, this $89. So if we look here, this is where the $89 would be, not this one. They're 2 different places. Not there. The $495 one. Oh, 100. Yeah, the $495 is not there. If we move over further, you can see there's a whole bunch of things missing, but they're here. Like this 149 one. This one is has a contract in on it. This has been on the market for about 3 years. I don't know if the history will show that. Property history. Let's see. And yeah. So you can see where it was price change, relisted, price change, relisted. They do that so it automatically bumps it up. And that's another thing we'll talk about when, things you need to know about real estate. But that's important. That's part of what I'm talking about, of getting kind of a lay of the land, kind of understanding what's going on with the market there, so you don't get fooled. Because, real estate agents, their number one thing is they want to try and sell the property. They're not always going to get caught up in a lot of the history and everything else, and kind of hold your hand through this whole process. What they are trying to do, though, is get both sides to be happy with a price so that it sells. So something just to watch out for. Let's see. Now, I'm going to use this to go back to the search. Now, I've just been kind of drilling in, but this also has the same thing, the minimum, maximum, right? So 180K. Bedrooms, baths are here instead of on the more property type, any. Right, I can, instead of any, let's just do land, listings, any, new construction, existing homes, priced reduced, that kind of stuff. More filters, lot size, let's see, yep, it's in feet, as far as I can tell. Oh no, they changed it. Well, good for them. Let's do 2 acres, home age, which is a nice one. Lot views, let's see what's underneath here. Hill, mountain views, ocean. Let's close that. Gives you an idea of the capability of the searching. I also hope I've shown you that it's really important to look at both websites if you really want to do a full search. So there is another place you can go for more information, and that's the county site. Most counties have a Geo Information System, and we'll go to the interactive map. And what it does is it's going to have a whole bunch of different map types for different things. Here you can see bear conflict zone map, so you can check to see the history of where you've run into bears in Teton County. So we're going to go to the parcel map. Give it a second to catch up. You can go too quickly. Be patient when you go with these things, because they're dealing with gobs of data and they're trying to draw them. There's that one property that I'm going to kind of use as an example. There's a lot of good information on it. So we'll wait for it to catch up. As you can see, that line is still really big, so it'll redraw all this stuff. So the lot that we were looking at earlier, it was like 159, I think, or something like that, was this lot. And so here you have the parcel number, the acres, the address, the name of the person who owns it, the legal description, which is important when you're interacting with the state for permits and things like that, a tax key for what the land is deeded for use. And then you have these instrument numbers, which are the things that we'll get into in the next one. But they give you a lot of good information about the history of the ownership, if it's all there. Sometimes you'll go to a property and it will just have the current, it won't have the history. But that history can be very enlightening on pricing and all sorts of stuff. But we'll go into more detail that on the next one. So I hope the stuff I went through gives you a good starting point when you're ready to purchase property, or whether it's land or a house. The next video in the series, we're going to start covering all the things you should ask about the property before you buy. And this one I think is going to be a really good video, have a lot of value to it, because when I was trying to buy my land, I looked and looked and looked and couldn't find anything that was a comprehensive kind of list. Now, this list will be comprehensive, but it's not going to be, have everything. I'm sure I've missed some stuff, and basically I put together a pretty good short list. And then my mom has a friend that has been in real estate for 30 years, been the #1 salesperson in Virginia for like 20 of those 30 years. And she was kind enough to spend almost an hour of me going through and saying, well, these are the things I've considered. And then she came up with another 10, or at least it felt like it. And what was nice is she also confirmed the ones that I had already picked out, saying, yeah, those are important ones. So we're going to try and go through kind of a checklist of, did you ask about this? Did you ask about this? Did you ask about this? Did you consider this? Did you look at that? Did you, because purchasing a house and property are going to probably be one of the largest expenditures you make your entire life. And it sure does feel a lot better when you go in with your eyes open and you feel confident that you thought of everything before you went ahead and made that first offer. And then what we'll probably do after the second one, we'll have a third one. The third one, I really want to cover CCRs in the second one, but I think that topic is huge, and we won't be able to fit it in with that video without making it like a 40-minute video. So we'll probably do the next one where we'll cover CCRs. We'll talk about things to think about when you're picking a realtor, and unexpected hidden costs. So I'm thinking we'll probably do 3, but again, like I said, we'll play this by ear on how many videos we'll have in this series. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to follow along, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you'd like to get notified when we put up a new video, please click the bell button.